Here are the top stories of the news. President Tinubu declares 2026 as beginning of more robust phase of economic growth. At least 14 people killed in separate attacks on Plateau and Kebbi states. On the foreign scene, countries worldwide welcome 2026 with celebrations and fireworks. Good afternoon and a happy new year. This is News at 12 on Western Spring Television. I am Temitope Ajijalaoluwaola. President Bola Tinubu has declared that 2026 marks the beginning of a more robust phase of economic growth for Nigeria, pledging to drive down inflation further, strengthen foreign reserves, and sustain the country's GDP growth trajectory. In his New Year message to Nigerians on Thursday, the president expressed confidence in the nation's collective resolve, saying the new year would be a more prosperous one for the country, its citizens, and all who call Nigeria home. President Tinubu argued that during 2025, his administration sustained momentum on major reforms, achieved a fiscal reset, and recorded steady economic progress. Despite persistent global economic headwinds, he said Nigeria recorded tangible and measurable gains, particularly in the economy. He said that the focus in 2026 will be on consolidating the gains and continuing to build a resilient, sustainable, inclusive, and growth-oriented economy. According to him, Nigeria closed 2025 on a strong note, as despite the policies to fight inflation, it recorded a robust GDP growth each quarter, with annualized growth expected to exceed 4% for the year. President Tinubu explains that the nation maintained trade surpluses and achieved greater exchange rate stability, while inflation declined steadily and reached below 15%, in line with his administration's target. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu says 2026 will mark the commencement of a more robust phase of economic growth, with his administration committed to ensuring that the benefits of ongoing reforms reach every Nigerian household. In this New Year Goodwill message, President Tinubu said his administration had laid a solid foundation for long-term stability through reforms, including tax harmonization aimed at ending multiple taxation across all tiers of government. He said the reforms are intended to raise revenue sustainability, address fiscal distortions, and strengthen the government's capacity to finance infrastructure and social investments that would deliver shared prosperity. On security, the president said the armed forces have sustained operations against terror networks across the northwest and northeast, adding that security and intelligence agencies will deepen cooperation with regional and global partners in 2026. President Tinubu reiterated his support for the centralized policing with safeguards complemented by properly regulated forest guards as part of efforts to tackle terrorism and banditry. On inclusive growth, the president said his administration would accelerate the Renewed Hope Awards Development Program, targeting the empowerment of at least 10 million Nigerians through grassroots economic activities across the country's 8,809 wards. It said investments in infrastructure, agriculture, healthcare, education, and transport would continue without interruption to strengthen food security and improve their quality of life. While the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) has asked the federal government to urgently review workers' salaries in the new year following the wave of escalating inflation and suffering sweeping across the country. In his New Year's address to workers, the president of NLC, Comrade Joe Ajaero, noted that workers' salaries would be a living wage rather than for mere survival. He acknowledged that the year 2025 was indeed challenging for Nigerian workers. Ajaro, however, said the challenges did not deter the group from pushing for justice for workers. He urged workers to be vigilant and patriotic in 2026, adding that the NLC will not fail to organize and mobilize to hold government accountable. Governor Ademola Adeleke has felicitated with Osho people on the advent of the year 2026, describing the new year as an era of victory and prosperity when citizens must engage in electoral vigilance and activism. In a statement issued on New Year Day, Governor Adeleke praised the Almighty for the successes and achievements of 2025 and prayed for an even more prosperous new year for all strata of Ocean society. Describing 2025 as a challenging year for Ocean State due to externally induced constraints, the governor expressed optimism that 2026 will be a year of liberation from all obstacles, impeding delivery of good governance and democratic dividends in Osun State. The governor asked the people to pray fervently for Osun State for a successful, hitch-free electoral process. He reassured the people of the state of his resolute determination to forge ahead with delivery of services and democratic dividends, promising and vowing to lead the people to another victory in the August 2026 polls. In Rivers State, Governor Siminalayi Fubara has expressed optimism that 2026 will usher in improved fortunes for the state and its residents. The governor assures that his administration is entering the new year with renewed strength and confidence, even as he urged people and residents of the state not to be troubled by the sounds of war they are hearing. Governor Fubara gave the assurance in his New Year message, delivered shortly after the crossover service at the Government House Chapel of Everlasting Grace, Port Harcourt, on Thursday. Reflecting on the past 2 years of his administration, the governor said the period had been challenging, but noted that his government is stepping into the year with hope and faith. While making a veiled reference to recent attacks on him by political opponents, the governor declared that his reliance is not on the instruments of war, but in prayer, stressing that those who place their trust in God would not be put to shame. Governor Fubara urged residents on the state to remain calm and unperturbed by uncertain reports of war, assuring them that his administration remains focused on advancing the interests of Rivers State. Moving on, Bauchi State Governor Bola Ahmed has accused the federal government of using the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to harass him and officials of his administration because of his refusal to join the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. The governor made the allegation in Bauchi during the signing of the 2026 appropriation bill into law. He lamented that one of his commissioners is currently being detained by the EFCC. Governor Mohammed, who is the chairman of the People's Democratic Party Governors Forum, insisted that no amount of harassment would force him to join the APC. He said he had remained silent in the interest of peace and security, but once that he would no longer do so if the federal government failed to halt its actions. The Bauchi governor further alleged that although the federal government controls 51% of the country's resources, it has done nothing tangible for the state. He also criticized the federal government's tax system, warning that it would impoverish Nigerians if not reviewed. The EFCC had recently filed fresh criminal charge against Yakubu Adamu, the Bauchi State Commissioner for Finance, and other defendants over alleged terrorism financing involving a total of $9.7 million.
I was just waking up to an occasion where I was told that I'm being accused of terrorism as a governor. Someone who is the head of the opposition My commissioner has been kept and will not be released by an EFCC. Even when I have immunity as a governor, my name was stupendously mentioned in a motion in a court of law in Nigeria. Me, Bola Ahmed, who is recognized without my inkling for this kind of recognition. God is wonderful. I don't have to say anything. I don't even have to go to the public court. But certainly, politics has become something in Nigeria. But with this kind of people around, Mr. Magui and his colleagues, there is still hope in the country. Whatever anything does to denounce you, to prosecute you, somehow God will bring something to absorb you of blames, of persecution. Because with the little resources we have, the work we have done in Bauchi, somebody will accuse us of arbitrariness. We have a country where 51% of the resources is taken by the federal government. In my state, they have not provided 1 kilometer of road. They have not provided water. Even the security agencies, I'm the one paying them to work for us. And they have the guts to talk. This is a country where when you walk, you become a villain, you become an idiot. I have kept quiet for too long, just for peace and security. Because as politicians, we should not overhate the polity. But I'm not a coward. I'm just keeping quiet because of the common people. We don't have to denounce, denigrate people before we ascend to power. The federal government should look at its tax system. In spite of all the impurities, they are going ahead to impoverish the common man, to impoverish the subnationals. We are keeping quiet.
And now to security. At least 7 people have been confirmed dead following a deadly attack on the Bom community in Chugwe, Uvyang district of the Jos South local government area of Plateau State. The Barom Youth Smolder Association said the attack, allegedly carried out by suspected armed bandits, occurred at about 11 p.m. on Wednesday as residents were preparing to usher in 2026. Confirming the incident, the National Publicity Secretary of the association, Ruang Tenwang, said the community was thrown into mourning at a time when others across the state were celebrating. He disclosed the 7 corpses had so far been recovered, noting the search and rescue operations were still ongoing. According to the association, the attack occurred despite earlier security alerts warning that several communities in Jos South local government area had been marked for possible attacks. Similarly, suspected bandits have killed no fewer than 7 persons in a series of deadly attacks on communities in Shanga local government area of Kabi State, sparking fear, displacement, and renewed calls for increased security presence. The assailants reportedly stormed Tungangiwa village on Wednesday night, where they killed 2 residents during the attack that forced many locals to flee their homes. The attack came barely a day after similar incidents on Tuesday in other parts of the local government. Reports said 5 people were killed in Kaiwa village, where the attackers also set ablaze the house of the village head. The bandits were also said to have moved to Gabe town on the same day, killing 1 person before launching another attack on Goodwill town earlier on Wednesday, where 1 resident was reportedly killed. Members of the affected communities have appealed to the government to urgently deploy more military and security personnel to protect innocent civilians and restore peace in the area. In Ondo State, gunmen on Wednesday night attacked Ipele community in Owo, local government area of the state, setting the divisional police station in the area on fire. The attack, which occurred on New Year's Eve, sent residents fleeing from their homes and disrupted crossover church services across the community. Reports said the assailants, numbering between 20 and 30, invaded the agrarian community at about 9:41 p.m., shooting sporadically. The gunmen reportedly deployed explosives before setting the facility ablaze. Confirming the incident in a statement on Thursday, police spokesperson in the A state, Abayomi Jimoh, said the attack was directed at the police station and not any church. He said the attack led to the destruction of the station and some exhibits, but no casualty was recorded as of the time of filing the report. You're watching Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. The Labour Party's presidential candidates in the 2023 election, Peter Obi, and other political leaders from the Southeast political zone, have officially declared for the African Democratic Congress, ADC. The leaders gathered in Enugu, the capital of Enugu State, on Wednesday to make the declaration. They stated that after months of consultations, they had decided to join the ADC and collaborate with other opposition leaders from across the country to rescue Nigeria from the poor governance of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Those present at the event included former Senate President and National Chairman of the ADC, David Mark, former Secretary of State Governor, Senator Aminu Tambuwal, from a Governors Forum from the Southeast, and other dignitaries. In a speech at the event, Mr. Obi said the move to the ADC marks the beginning of the journey to rescue the country from the APC. The former Anambra State Governor also vowed that the opposition will resist any attempt to rig the 2027 elections, warning the Independent Electoral Commission, INEC, to strictly follow the rules and regulations. On the foreign scene, most of the world has now welcomed in the new year, with much of the west coast of North America and a number of Pacific islands becoming the last to see the start of 2026. Kiritimati, also known as Christmas Island, and the Pacific Ocean was the first place in the world to celebrate the new year after it hit midnight when it was still 10 a.m. GMT on Wednesday. In Australia, Sydney put on a fantastic firework display to light up the harbour, but the moment was tempered with sadness following the Bondi Beach attack weeks before. The world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, was lit up with a spectacular fireworks display.